In the ever-expanding cosmos of the Big Bang Theory universe, spin-offs have become galaxies of their own. Young Sheldon carved out a surprisingly heartfelt niche that contrasted the original's neurotic nerdiness with Southern warmth and sincerity. Now, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, the latest satellite in Chuck Lorre's TV constellation, closes its inaugural season with a finale that feels, well, familiar. If you've been orbiting this universe for long, you'll recognize the gravitational pull of recycled themes, emotional rehashes, and narrative déjà vu. And yet, somehow, it still works, mostly. The wedding bells and narrative echoes. The finale, titled, Second Chances and a Second Dress, centers around Georgie Cooper and Mandy McAllister finally tying the knot after a season of post-baby cohabitation, premarital confusion, and extended family chaos. The episode is framed by the build-up to their impromptu, low-budget courthouse wedding, but underneath the surface-level rom-com stylings is a story about identity, responsibility, and what it means to try again. If that sounds familiar, that's because it is. In fact, it echoes multiple storylines from The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon, from Howard and Bernadette's unconventional wedding to Leonard and Penny's off-the-cuff Vegas elopement. It's the "odds are against us but we love each other anyway" arc that Laurie and company have leaned on many times. That said, repetition doesn't always equate to failure, it depends on execution. And this episode, for all its echoes, manages to carve out some heartfelt originality in its details. A portrait of Georgie, older and wiser. One of the more fascinating transformations in the Big Bang universe has been Georgie Cooper Jr. Originally the goofy, jockish older brother in Young Sheldon, he's now a young dad and aspiring businessman trying to prove he's not the mess everyone thought he'd be. The finale gives us one of Georgie's best emotional moments yet. His teary-eyed vow to Mandy, rough around the edges and full of sincerity, feels earned after a season of screw-ups, growing pains, and unspoken longing. What's striking here is the show's refusal to make Georgie a Sheldon light, or even a full-blown sitcom cliché. He's more emotionally transparent than Leonard, more grounded than Howard, and more self-aware than Raj ever was in The Big Bang Theory. And yet, his journey is still peppered with the same brand of awkward missteps and hopeful redemptions we've come to expect. Is it new? Not really. Is it emotionally satisfying? Absolutely. Mandy, the real star of the show. If Georgie's growth is the emotional spine of the finale, Mandy is its beating heart. Emily Osment brings a rawness to Mandy that keeps the show from tilting too far into sitcom fluff. She's not just the girlfriend, or the mom, or the woman who tames the lovable man-child. She's her own person, with a stubborn streak and a soft center that makes her compelling to watch. In the finale, Mandy has a moment that echoes Penny's infamous, "I'm not sure I want to get married" jitters, but instead of being played for will she or won't she drama, it's grounded in realism. She questions whether love is enough, whether their baby girl deserves stability, and whether Georgie is truly ready. And when she walks down the steps of the courthouse in a borrowed dress, there's a vulnerability in her smile that speaks volumes more than any monologue could. It's Osment's performance that elevates the finale from formulaic to affecting. You've seen this story before, but maybe not quite like this. Familiar faces and sitcom Easter eggs. For longtime fans, the finale is a goldmine of subtle references and callbacks. There's Sheldon in voiceover only, of course recounting the ceremony with his usual analytic detachment. There's a small cameo from Mima, whose presence still manages to steal every scene. Even Missy, now a teenager with her own spin-off worthy sass, gets a few lines that feel like winks to those who know where this family is headed. But it's the callbacks to The Big Bang Theory that hit hardest, both for better and worse. We see Georgie fumble a speech much like Leonard did. We hear Mandy reference, "a life full of comic books and chaos," in a line that could have been lifted from Amy Farrah Fowler's wedding vows. And there's the slow dance to a country cover of "If I Didn't Have You," the song that once scored a shamey moment in Pasadena. It's sweet. It's also, occasionally, a little too self-aware. The show wants to have its cake and serve it again, slightly reheated. The problem with nostalgia. The central issue with Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, and especially this finale, is its dependence on nostalgia. There's a delicate line between homage and recycling, and while the show mostly walks that line well, it stumbles at times. The wedding trope has been done. The underdog makes good arc has been done. Even the, "our love is messy but real," speech has been done, multiple times. The show isn't unaware of this. The title alone, with its "first marriage" tag, is both a joke and a forecast. We know this might not last. Sheldon himself told us, years ago, that Georgie ends up divorced. So where does that leave us? Oddly enough, in a pretty interesting place. By acknowledging the inevitability of imperfection, the show adds a layer of tragic realism to the finale. We know how this story ends, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy how it's told. Final thoughts: a bittersweet return to a familiar orbit. The season 1 finale of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage doesn't reinvent the sitcom wheel. It doesn't have to. What it does is offer a small, touching story about two imperfect people trying to build something real in the shadow of inevitability. It leans on familiar beats but plays them with just enough sincerity to feel fresh. In the end, it feels like catching up with an old friend, someone whose stories you've mostly heard, but who always manages to say something new in the telling. Rating: 7.5/10. I've seen this story before, but I'm still glad I watched it again. Would you like a shorter version or a version with a more humorous or emotional tone?